Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so potential buyers have more information about the seller and the business to help them make a buying decision. Before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of this business. It's a 9-site package display advertising business created in December of 2011 in the medical and health and fitness niches. The average monthly revenue for the business is $9,466 and makes an average of $9,407 per month in net profit. The assets included in this sale are domain including all site content and files and all of the secondary domains and social media accounts, which include Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, an email list with around 18,000 subscribers. And just as a disclaimer, we recommend interested buyers have an approved AdSense account to aid a successful migration of the business. So for everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 64231 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So that's a brief overview of the business for sale. Let's hear from the seller with me today. So welcome to the show, Chris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you and your business. So to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Of course. So my background is in medicine. So I'm a medical doctor working in the United Kingdom, and that's my full-time job. And I started this business when I was a medical student. So when I was at college, essentially. And I had the idea to create some content websites in certain medical niches. And that's really where the idea began. And I was lucky because obviously being a doctor and having that training in healthcare and medicine, I was able to generate the content for these businesses myself. I knew the niche well. I knew it inside out. I guess in essence, I was a content expert. And that allowed me to put together some really high quality content. And over the last decade or so, I've been rewarded with these businesses which have grown in popularity and revenue.
It makes sense why you chose this niche, but it also turned out to be a really great business decision because I know Google, they want to make sure that the people who have created these sites and this kind of content are actual professionals and people who are justified or qualified to be able to create this content. So you created a nice little moat around this business where others can't necessarily just enter without any kind of qualification. Nice.
Yes, certainly. And when I started the business 10 years ago, I was certainly no expert in creating online businesses. And in essence, I had to teach myself as I went along. But my intention when I started the businesses was to provide value to the reader or to the user of the website. So that was my core intention when I started. And I really think that's helped me create helpful content, which not only benefits the users who visit, but also is looked on very favorably by Google and the other search engines and has consistently ranked well over the last 10 years.
Got it. So did you thinking at all about the online business side of this when you were getting this started, or were you just thinking about creating content that would help people?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I wasn't really thinking about the business side of it when I started. And I guess in essence, it was a project started in a college dorm room. I know that sounds a little unprofessional, but that's really the story of how this business began. And for the first 12 months or so, I didn't even monetize my display content because that wasn't the purpose of me creating this content. It was obviously a niche I was interested in, and I just enjoyed writing about it and creating that value for the user. And the first indication I had that I was doing something well or successful was when I eventually did put some display advertising on the website. I had my first ever check from Google AdSense. And if you're a United Kingdom-based seller, 10 years ago, you used to get checks posted from the United States from Google when you passed a certain threshold of revenue. And I remember the first day that check landed in my postbox. And that's when I realized that actually I'd built something quite incredible here. And it really motivated me to continue creating content and value. And everything snowballed from there.
Yeah, dorm room or not, I love it. I think there's a lot of pressure to create content upfront from the start with the algorithm in mind. So to create content with the intention of helping people, which is the original reason why content sites started, I think you can see that come through in the content itself. So I think it just leads to higher quality websites, potentially. But in this case, your efforts were certainly validated. So that's great to hear. Well, it's been over 10 years at this point. So why are you deciding to sell the business instead of keeping it and growing it?
So the business is very passive. And certainly over the last 2 years or so, I've taken a very hands-off approach, putting in just a small number of hours each week to keep things going. But obviously, like I mentioned earlier on in my introduction, I have a separate career working as a medical doctor in the UK. And really, I've found it more difficult to balance my career and running this business, which has grown year on year. And I find myself thinking now that it has been a decade, the business would really benefit perhaps additional investment in new content creation, exploring other avenues of monetization, doing some more technical keyword research, for example. There's a lot of potential with this business, but unfortunately, I simply don't have the time to invest in it as I have to focus on my career. So after a long period of reflection, and it was a long period of reflection because I am sad to sell, I have decided that I think now is the time to pass the reins over onto a new owner who can hopefully take the business to the next level, because I think it does have great potential.
Yeah, and when I think about being sad to sell, I almost think that's a better position to be in when I think about the alternative, which is, oh man, I can't wait to get rid of this business for various
Yeah.
reasons. So I think kind of a blessing to feel that way. You kind of answered this already, but we might be able to get more into this. So over the course of this decade of building this business, what did you learn from building this that worked or that contributed to your success? I know we talked about how you initially created content specifically with the recipients in mind. That could be the thing that worked. Maybe to add on to that, though, was there, once you started to develop this realization that this could formally be a business and you started to think about the digital marketing side of this, was there anything that you added on to that helped your business grow?
We have spoken about creating that high quality content. Because our niche is in the medical niche, the thing that I've really learned is writing for the lay audience. So if you're explaining a medical topic or a topic in the health niche, people want it explained in a way which makes sense and that is easy to read and easy to follow. But they also want it explained in a way which conveys authority. So if anyone has ever Googled a medical topic, you'll know that there's a vast amount of information out there. And some of that information is very technical and very detailed, and it's just inaccessible for a member of the public. Some of the information out there is also wildly inaccurate, and actually you can find some quite dangerously wrong information out there regarding health and medicine if you start Googling. So one of the things I've learned over the last 10 years is in the medical niche is really focusing on providing excellent content for users, which is accurate and easy to digest. And then moving away from content, I guess the other thing that I've learned is we've had quite a bit of success with social media. And that's not something I had anticipated when I first set up the business 10 years ago. Being in the medical niche, I didn't quite think that we would have such a strong social media presence, but we've done very well. We have a core following of Facebook users and Instagram followers, and we've managed to build up a bit of a community, which has been nice to see and has been quite accidental, really. It's been great how that has almost developed organically without any significant intervention from myself.
Yeah, organic was the first thing that came to mind when I thought about this first for generating the sites and driving organic traffic, but then for even establishing your social channels. And I know there's an email list involved with this. It all seems like it was organic. And speaking to the balance of the type of content that you created, I really like how I can see it now. There's kind of this in the medical niche, there's this spectrum where you can either be very technical on one side or on the other side, very technical but accurate on one side, but then on the other side, you can be very non-technical, maybe casual is the other, or just relatable, while inaccurate potentially. And you found, I don't want to say that you found that point in between, but you did the best of both sides. You were both accessible and understandable while also being legitimate and coming from a position of accuracy and authority. So, yeah, that's a great balance to hear that I haven't heard other content creators put in that way. Nice. Okay. Was there anything now that you tried with this business that didn't work? I know it's been about a decade, so you've probably tried a few things. I know this is a 9-site package, so you've certainly tested out different maybe areas with sub niches within this niche.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, it is a 9-site package, and probably not all of those niches have been equally successful, those sub-niches that you mentioned. And I've found more success in certain sub-niches than in others. And that's something that I've just experimented with over the last 10 years. And if you look at the age of the 9 domains, you'll be able to see that. So you'll be able to see that I set some up at different times to test out that sub-niche and to see whether there was a market there. And some were successful and some were not quite so successful. So I have found that experimenting with sub-niches has shown me that just some I'm not sure whether it's the sub-niche or perhaps whether it's just an external factor, but some just don't gain quite as much traction. So for me, that's been the real sort of learning experience. It has just been trial and error, essentially, combined with a little bit of keyword research, but mostly trial and error.
Yeah, and this will lead to our question in a little bit about the opportunities, but I'm sensing that there's a lot of unexplored opportunity here to get a little bit more into that keyword research, a little bit more on the SEO side, whereas you started with just serving people, which I think has been great for getting the business to this point. But we will get into that after I ask this next question, which is, can you describe the amount and the type of work that you do on this business for maintenance? I know you mentioned this is more of a passive business at this point, but yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about what you do currently to keep it going.
Sure. So it's incredibly passive at the moment. I probably spend perhaps 1 to 2 hours a week, which is mostly low-level support type work, responding to emails, with some occasional social media creation and scheduling. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And this probably relates to one of the reasons why I'm selling, which is I just don't have the time to spend longer on the business. Certainly, if I had more time, I would be able to invest more time in content creation, for example, and perhaps we can talk about an area of growth opportunity. So I'm not doing any of that at the moment. To keep the business running as it is, very passive, is approximately, as I said, 1 to 2 hours a week.
Got it. And out of curiosity, are the emails that you're receiving, are they medical questions, people asking about like a specific medical ailment or something that they're experiencing?
That's a really interesting question. So the answer to that question is no. They're not specific medical questions. To do with, we have an account functionality in the business where users register, they log in, etc. So it's really low-level support type work involving mostly resetting accounts, which perhaps if I had been smart a few years ago, I would have outsourced, but it is still me doing it.
Nice. Well, that does lead nicely into talking about opportunities then. So if you were to keep the business, what are some ways that you would try to grow it?
So I think there are lots of opportunities with this business. And in fact, I'm quite excited talking about them because a little bit of me did dream of quitting my job and just doing this full time and taking it to the next level. But the rational part of me has decided against that. So the opportunities I see. So I think the niche itself, I've managed to establish an authority site in this medical niche. And we have this amazing collection of evergreen content, which ranks really well. There are so many further opportunities to do some more technical analysis of keywords and to get into the SEO side of things, to really target additional keywords, which will not only bring in new users, but will also bring in new advertisers as well. And this is something I haven't really explored before. I'm not an SEO professional. I've never paid an SEO company and I've never outsourced any SEO work. So this is really an untapped area of development for the business. If someone could bring in that expertise to really take a deep dive into the keywords and explore future growth opportunities. So I think that's opportunity number one. Opportunity number two is to really invest in new content creation. So as I mentioned earlier, in a way, I've taken a step back from creating content. But despite this, we've still managed to maintain and even improve our Google rankings. So if we could publish content regularly, high quality content that people want to consume, I think this would help take the business to the next level. And then my last thinking around opportunities is I am forever getting emails from people wanting to buy advertising space, to sponsor our email newsletter, to have a social media sponsorship. There are lots of other monetization opportunities out there, and I've never taken any of these up, mostly because, once again, I do not have the time to be brokering deals with private advertisers, etc. So I think there are lots of other monetization opportunities here. I think you mentioned earlier, we've got quite a significant email list, which isn't monetized at the moment. So that's a big growth area. And we generate a small amount of income from Amazon affiliate program, but this is by no means optimized. And many people who visit our website in this medical niche are looking for products. They're looking for products in a particular niche, and we would be in a great position to put those products in front of people and really provide them with the value of suggesting appropriate products and increasing our revenue from an affiliate program. So if I had to think of the three main growth areas, that's what I would do.
Yeah, those are some very large opportunities. As we were talking earlier, I was already kind of piecing together the realization that the SEO component to this is a huge opportunity, that this was built primarily through serving people. So that exists. It's also a great sign when you have advertisers wanting to give you cash, and the reason why you haven't accepted it is because you don't have time to take their cash. So that's a great problem to have for a new buyer thinking about ways to grow the business after they acquire it. So yeah, it sounds like a lot of exciting potential for this business. Well, of course, with any opportunity, let's balance this out a little bit. What do you think are the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
With any content website, we are at the mercy of the Google algorithm updates. And I think that's an unavoidable risk, perhaps, for any content website. However, I'm reassured by the fact that over the last 10 years, we've never had any significant penalties. And the recent Google helpful content update has not negatively impacted on us. I think that's perhaps a background risk that is always present, perhaps in any content website. Thinking about other risks, I guess the other risks perhaps from a more technical architecture side of things. The websites that I run are based on WordPress, and obviously they've grown in significant popularity since I chose the WordPress platform. And I guess if they continue to grow in popularity and as traffic increases, potential risk down the future might be thinking about whether WordPress is the most appropriate technical solution for them, or whether we need to look at perhaps more enterprise level solutions or perhaps a custom software solution. So that's a risk I perceive in the future if traffic trajectory continues to grow.
Yep. I just wanted to point out that the fact that this business has lasted for as long as it has, and that you haven't been really affected by Google algorithm updates, is a very strong sign, as opposed to, for example, a site that's lasted for maybe 2 years and has only gone through one algorithm update. It just goes to speak to the likelihood that this is in the good graces of the Google algorithm and will continue to be so moving forward. Of course, no guarantees, but this is probably the best sign that you can have of the future. Okay, so that's the risk. Now, one thing I did want to talk about was one of the opportunities to produce more content. Of course, some of that content will be medical in background. So I could see potentially the buyer needing some support. So maybe there could be some arrangement, but that just leads to my next question. For maybe just the initial part of this transition, how much support are you willing to offer a new buyer?
Because it's a very passive business, I think I put in the listing sort of 30 days of phone and email support to support the new buyer. Your point about the medical content, I think that's something that's quite interesting. So for those who unlock the listing, they'll obviously be able to access the URLs and see what the niche is. But I would want to stress this medical niche is not highly complex. It's not highly technical, and it's got a wide appeal. So this isn't a very subspecialized medical niche that requires significant technical knowledge. It's a very broad medical niche, which is very popular and is very relevant to most of the population and does not require a significant degree of technical knowledge in order to write about. I hope I phrased that in the best way. And there would also be plentiful opportunities to outsource the creation of content. And you would have a large pool of people that could write about it, in my opinion. Therefore, not having a medical background should not be a barrier to taking this on.
Yes, that's awesome. And that's probably the only thing that I was thinking of as far as what support a buyer might need outside of just the typical migration of the business. So that's awesome to hear. Okay. And just confirming next that you would commit to a non-compete after this business is acquired?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Perfect. And are you open to something like an earnout?
I would probably prefer cash up front, but I would be happy to negotiate on an individual basis depending on the buyer. So I'm open to negotiation regarding that.
Okay. I know we've probably talked quite a bit about this, but putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying? If you'd like to maybe summarize some of those points.
So I think this business has got huge opportunity to grow further. I think the last 10 years have shown that the niche is popular, it's profitable, and I think I'm quite proud that I've done a great job in getting started in this niche. And I've managed to grow this 6-figure business by myself with no outside support, with just me. So I think the opportunities here are absolutely huge for someone who's got a bit more resources to really invest in the technical and the content side. For example, as we've talked about the SEO, and really take this business to the next level. And I think that's what makes this business so appealing.
Agreed. Lots of really exciting opportunities for growth here. Okay. Well, last question. If you think there might be an answer to this, is there anything you'd like to add that you think I might have missed during the interview?
No, I think we've covered most things. It's been good to talk about it.
Yeah, it has been. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap this up here. So, Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was an awesome story. And thanks for joining us on today's episode. And yeah, I hope your business is purchased in the near future and by the right buyer.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 64231. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.